Cyril, what a beauty! Hawthorne was...
I don't believe it! I see it, but I don't believe it! Class with a capital C! How did he do it?
Leonberry, you star! Oh my goodness! Is this one to remember?
G'day community and welcome to the Jock Reynolds Supercoach podcast. I am Lekdog and today we are brought to you by Manscaped. That's right! Support for the Jock Reynolds Supercoach podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's performance package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code JOCK, J-O-C-K, that's code JOCK at manscaped.com. And if my maths is correct, that's about 8 million balls. Joining me are two other men. Damo, how are you?
I'm good, Lek. How are you?
I'm fantastic. And Patch, how are you?
Lekdog, I'm good. I've been staring at this shiny new box all weekend. So, was there football? Who knows? I don't. I certainly don't. And it doesn't matter. But speaking of things that are shiny, how are your balls? We normally talk about this before the podcast starts recording. How are your balls, Lekdog?
Well, I'm glad you've asked, Patchy. You're right. Normally this is an off-air conversation, but for today, it's on air because, as we alluded to, Manscaped have jumped on board. Patch, I'll say this. Obviously, those out there know that I am... how do you say it?
Follically challenged.
Follically challenged on top, but I'm glad that I can finally say that the carpet matches the drapes because Manscaped, as you said, they sent across packages for you, me, and Damo to try out. And now, as I said, the carpet matches the drapes using the... What did they send? They sent the Performance Package 4.0. Inside that was their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, which I have used on my balls, and it did just that.
Very good. It's evidently 4-stroke, like the 4-stroke you're having at the moment.
I don't think it's powered by petrol. In fact, it's powered by battery, very easily rechargeable, waterproof, and you can certainly trim those hairs down. It also came with the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, the Crop Preserver ball deodorant, the Crop Reviver toner, performance boxer briefs, and a t-shirt and a travel bag to put all that in. Gentlemen, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about this brand over the next month or so, but I'm really excited, and I didn't think we'd get to talk about testicles on the podcast more than we normally do.
Exactly, it's very exciting. But more than the ball trimmers, I'm more excited for the nose and ear trimmer as someone who is the opposite of follically challenged, bit of undergrowth in those particular departments. So very excited to give them a crack and give it a whirl. How was it? How was the experience?
Well, it was. I mean, I feel very fast. I feel very streamlined,
Aerodynamic,
head to toe. The 4th generation trimmer, that's the Lawnmower 4.0, features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. So it's time to take care of yourself. Go to manscaped.com, get 20% off plus free shipping with code Jock Reynolds. That's right, that's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com using code JOCK, J-O-C-K. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Supercoach, boys, a lot happened.
Oh boy, did it. Goodness me. Lekdog, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. What did you score? Just get the gloating out of the system.
No, stop it. We don't do that on this podcast. Oh, okay, if you insist. If you insist.
Give us the number.
Gentlemen, finally, my team of pods who are inconsistent and generally bad Scored well in the same round. Pumped out a 25.99. I would think I was like 2,097th for the week. Pushed up my rank well over 16,000 places, but I am still only floundering around the 20k mark. But it was an enjoyable round for my garbage team.
Take the wins where you can get them. Damo, how did you go this week? You had some big scores as well.
Yeah, I finished on 2502, which is pretty good for a round 7. I'm definitely happy with that. Last week I had a pretty poor score and lost lots of ground in the rankings, and this good score has put me basically back where I was 2 weeks ago, so that's good.
That's good. We love to hear it. I had a 2509. So we've all topped the 2500, which normally doesn't happen till around 20 or so.
I was talking to someone about this today. Do you think that given the extra trades we've had, given how smart people are nowadays with trading in rookies and maximizing cash generation, do you think we're going to get to a time where like 2,700 is the average this season?
Ooh, that's a big call, but potentially. I have noticed teams going very hard, teams trading very hard, teams using the boosts early. I've already used 2 boosts, and gosh, it makes your team upgrade that so much quicker. So I think we will see. I think these big scores are the norm, but this round certainly a couple of players popped more than others, and a few rookies did their thing on field, which was very nice for us.
Let's talk positives and negatives before we get into the minutiae of the podcast, gentlemen. I'm happy to go first. My positive, I was going to say, and this is a way to get 2 positives in. You say, I was going to say this, and then you say the other one.
Yep, classic.
I was going to say trading in Luke Parker last week and getting 150 points on field. But I think the bigger achievement, Patch, is Daniel Rioli, who was an awful trade-in.
Look, he wasn't great, was he? Was not great.
He hit the ton. He got 100 points. He was playing off halfback. They moved Jayden short in the midfield. He had free reign. He played really well. He looked really good, and he did the things that I thought he was going to do. So Daniel Rioli scoring 100 points, that is my positive for the week.
Well done. You love to see it. I'm going to jump in with some positives. Rookies. How good are rookies when they do well? And Nick Martin was very good, 106. Essendon's best player, arguably. Josh Gibcus, 79, has popped out of nowhere, building with a lot of confidence, taking intercept marks and racking up the points. Sam de Koning, 77, did very well. Nick Dacos, 75, will take it. By and large, the rookies were kind to us, which helped push the scores up, including one man who some people jumped on early, some people didn't take their own advice, but is going to be in pretty much every team from here on out. And we'll talk about Greg Clark's 104 a little bit later in the podcast.
Isn't it funny that we're talking about Nick Martin as a rookie when he's very clearly a premium and the best premium that Essendon can provide?
Yep.
Damo, your team's really good at football as well. How are you feeling? What was your positive from the round?
My positive was I went for Callum Mills instead of Clayton Oliver. Everyone told me I was chasing his 200, but I saw something in Callum Mills against the Hawks that made me go, no, I like Callum Mills for that extra 14,000 and I'm willing to spend it.
I think that's a great pick, by the way. I did a video with Big J on the centre bounce. It should be out by the time you hear this podcast. Last week it was recorded and we talked for about 15 minutes about Callum Mills and all the upside. Damo, I think you've absolutely killed that pick, mate.
And what's even better is I've been able to bring in Clayton Oliver this week as well.
There's some big upgrades coming into your side.
Absolutely, and it gets some pretty poor scoring rookies off the field too.
Well, I think that's been the right. That should be our focus moving forward, is getting these rookies off field. And if you can do it with underpriced guys, and Callum Mills was over 600k, but he's underpriced for what he's performing. I think it's great. Let's talk negatives, Patcharoo. I know this is going to be smug, but I don't have a lot of negatives this week. So I'll say this. My decision if a couple of weeks ago when what's his name? Malcolm Roses was a laid out, my decision to replace him instead of just banking him and knowing he'd come back into the team, but I picking up Bo McCreary and having him on my forward bench now,
How's that
pumping out
going?
35s and 44s. I'm going to say that's my negative because he's also stopped generating any cash and scoring any points.
Yes, not a great combination, really. Normally they come hand in hand anyway. But yeah, thoughts and or prayers. Not that Rose has scored all that much this weekend, only pumped out the 48, but still has a negative break even, still has money to make. My negatives were captaincy selections, and I know it hurt a lot of people this week, but it did hurt me. It cost me a couple of points because I reverse trades, and in that age-old thing, I just forgot to reset the C and VC, and was stuck with Max Gawn as captain, who I'd backed in during the week, and went, you know what? Now he'll be good, and then had the VC. So Max Gawn played Saturday afternoon, had the VC on Lockie Neal, and I was stoked with myself until about 4:40 on Sunday when Lockie Neal managed to overtake Max Gawn, and 172. Apparently not enough for captaincy this week. So real disappointed in myself there. Let myself
Hang on,
down.
hold on. Are you complaining about 172 as a captaincy score?
That is how you get two positives in the positives and negatives section, Damo. That's how you do it, baby.
He's absolutely smoked us there, Damo. What's your negative for the week?
Now, gentlemen, I need you to put on your tinfoil hats here.
Okay.
Oh, I love when people start sentences like that.
The game in Cairns was like a mud wrestle, but there was one player who every time he got the ball, even if he could hit a teammate, he either wasn't getting points or he was getting scaled down. Zach Butters kicked a point to level the game, and he went from 91 points to 84.
It was an ineffective kick, Damo. It should have been. It was going for the
Should've
goals.
kicked a goal.
He missed. I don't know what to tell you, really.
But he also spent 8 minutes on the bench in that final quarter because the play was all the way over the other side of the ground. And his points kept going down while he was off the bench. Now, I'm big on this. If a player's not on the ground, they shouldn't lose their points. Their points should be locked in place. It should only be the players currently involved in the play or currently active that gets the points up, taken away or added.
Well, I mean, as you pointed out after the game, they'd over-allocated the points, so points had to go from somewhere, and that kind of happens a bit during quarters, but also I take very little stock in mid-quarter scores because they do scaling on the fly and go back and retroactively add or take stuff away on the fly. So I always get very skeptical of when people complain about players losing points mid-quarter because it comes out in the wash at the other end normally, and 99% of the time I don't see an issue with it.
In my opinion, based on what I saw from watching that game, and I did watch the entire game because I like to torture myself, Zach Butters had a 120 game, but he ended up on 89.
Tinfoil hat.
Yeah,
Tinfoil hat.
Yeah, I'm not going to bite, but people complaining about live scoring just always gets under my grill.
Let's push into the pod, gentlemen. There's a couple of things I wanted to raise with you. One, we talked about offline briefly, Patch, and I said, it doesn't matter. Why are we talking about this? I've now looked at my team as we approach the bye rounds.
Yes.
It's probably something I wish I'd done a little earlier.
Which, may I remind you, you and I say every single year at about round 7 or 8, we go, oh, those things. Oh, yes. Oh, fiddlesticks. And it's not great, is it? It's not. You'd think by now we'd have learned.
It's not ideal. So I guess, we're probably going to look through upgrade options this week and guys that we should be targeting heading into the buys. I've looked at my team. Currently, I only have about 12 players playing in round 12, and all of the players who right now are rookies that I could upgrade are already playing that round anyway. So for me, I'm already throwing that one in the bin and not thinking about it. But I think for Supercoach players out there listening to this podcast, just have a check. Have a look at your round 12, 13, and 14 players. Structure a bit of a plan and target the premiums that are going to fit into that plan, because I haven't done that at this stage. And at this stage, it looks like it's going to be tough to recover from that.
Damo, how are you tracking on the buy front?
Round 14's the one that I'm the most worried about. I think I've got about 20 for round 12 and about 19 for round 13. Round 14, though, I think I've only got about 16.
I'll tell you what, I'd rather have round 14.
And that's including rookies.
I'd rather have, at least with round 14, you've got 2 extra weeks to prepare. You can upgrade around the buys. Anyone I traded is going to miss a game.
Well, yeah, that's very true. But I think that is a very good point, that we do need to be looking at who we're trading in from here on out. And, we'll recommend a bunch of people later on in the episode. But yeah, make sure you check who's playing each week. And, I'm looking at the player I'm trading in so far, Jayden Short, and realizing, oh yeah, he matches up with a lot of players that have buys. And the other player who I'm considering trading in, Luke Parker, has a friendlier buy. So that may well sway that decision. And I think that's a very fair thing and will be a very team by team thing that you need to look at. The other thing I do want to talk about is numbers of trades left, because we're in a bit of uncharted waters so far this year. And it's the first year we've had 35. It's the first year with trade boost, which lets us use even more. So by the end of last week, you could have, in theory, used, if I do quick maths off the top of my head, you could have used 19 trades already if you wanted to.
That would have been an impressive effort. If someone's, in fact, I think Marto on the website might have actually used 19 trades at this point in the season.
He's used a lot. Let me tell you that. But
God bless him.
How many trades should we be sitting on? How many trades should we be aiming for when our team's quote unquote complete? What's the trade situation, Lekdog, for any newer players among us?
Let me jump in here.
Oh,
you jump in, Damo.
Usually, after the buy rounds, most people would be looking to have 6 to 8 trades left over. I think it's not unreasonable this year to have at least a boost left and about 12 to 14 trades left after the buys.
12 to 14, goodness gracious me. That is a big deviation from previous years, but we've also got a spicier cough going around than in previous years, so I don't think it's a bad call at all.
Well, I think there's less players to upgrade this year as well. Like, I don't see Will Brodie as being a must trade out. I don't see Nick Martin being a must trade out. I don't see Greg Clark, if Greg Clark is going to average 104, as being a must trade out. And some of these players are going to play every single week, and it might be worth keeping someone who's averaging 70 on your bench in case COVID goes through a couple of teams.
Yeah, I think normally we select all these players as stepping stones, and they kind of underperform and you step off them very quickly. But this year, a few of those stepping stones are looking closer to keeper-ish. Post buys, we've got 9 rounds of Supercoach. Maximum trades you could use, ignoring trade boost there, would be 18. You'd love to have 18 left. No one's going to have 18 left. And if you are going to have 18 left, then you're not listening to this podcast because you've already clocked Supercoach. I've seen some people at the upper end of the rankings right now if you're going for overall, I've seen some of the higher ranked teams having only used like 5 trades because they've just nailed all of the mid prices and all of the correct rookies. I've used 10 trades. I feel like I've gone a little bit heavy. I've used 2 trade boosts. Looking up at the buys, which come in round 12, I'd be planning to use probably another like 8 during the buys themselves, and we've got 4 rounds to go before they even start. So I'm looking at potentially using 16 trades between now and then, and having only 9 left for the rest of the season. The correct play is to be conservative because at some stage, I think COVID's going to hit. I think it's going to take out bunches of players at a time. We're only seeing it happen in Freo and West Coast at the moment. But it's gonna come to us again down in Victoria. It's gonna hit New South Wales. It's gonna hit Queensland. It's just gonna happen. Adelaide.
Oh, Adelaide exists. Remember them. The conservative play and the play that will make everyone feel safer is holding the trades. That said, if you are towards the top of the tree in terms of rankings and you think, hey, I might be in with a sniff at the 50k like our good friend Foz Daddy, I reckon it gives you license to go even harder because we've got those extra trades, and if you at that end of the tree, you may as well go Hail Mary, and you're not going to win it by being conservative. But if you're not in contention for that, if you're not in that top couple of thousand, then I think now is the time you start managing them, and you really start going, oh, maybe I know this rookie's not going to make their break even this week, or they're not likely to, but I think we still just kind of hold them and try and get a bit more time out of them, a bit more cash out of other players as well.
And we must stress that there is no right or wrong way to use your trades. Obviously, it all comes down to how your team looks and what the situation is heading into the round. But also another thing, I think with these extra trades, it's given people permission to almost jump at shadows a little bit. They've seen someone with a high break even and not looked ahead enough, or maybe they don't have the ability to look ahead at what the break even's going to be in a few weeks' time. Like Jason Horne-Francis, people traded him out because of his high break even against Carlton, but now his break even is now back down again, and it's going to be the same with Nathan O'Driscoll as well. His high break even is because of the 43 that he scored a few weeks ago, but up against North Melbourne, he could score more than 77 points, and even if he only gets close to that, the break even's going to get down below 50 again. So it all comes down to, yes, you can jump at shadows with these extra trades, but you got to think about moving your low-scoring rookies off the field first. So you can probably keep the likes of your Dacos and your O'Driscoll and all that, and those sorts of players, and look at moving on more players like Connor McDonald, or obviously Jack Hayes is on his ACL. Josh Rochelle is just treading water really at the moment. If you still got Mitch Hinge or Mitch McGovern, I don't know why. They should be gone by now. But the rookies that are averaging in that 70 sort of range are probably ones that you can hold on to for a little bit longer because their break even has only shot up because of a poor score.
True, but to play devil's avocado, the only way you can upgrade your team, and you still got your Brodies, you still don't need as many upgrades as before, but we still want to upgrade as early as possible, and to do that you need cash, and they're cash that these rookies have, and your Connor McDonalds don't. So I still don't think it's a terrible idea to go early when you like, I need an upgrade here. Jason Horne-Francis is the way to get there. I don't hate the idea of trading somebody out because you're like, no, this is what the plan is. This is, I need a upgrade here. So, Horne-Francis becomes Greg Clark, and, someone else then goes up. I still think there's a time and place to move them on, when they're about to hit their break evens, if it fits the plan, but otherwise don't be scared. Sorry, as you're trying to say, don't be scared of holding them.
But in that sense, people are holding two different situations where they're trading out Nathan O'Driscoll, but then they're complaining that there's no defensive rookies. If you're moving Nathan O'Driscoll, you're upgrading him. You're not downgrading him. But people are choosing to upgrade their midfield because that's where all the points are being scored. So if you move a Nathan O'Driscoll because he's at that price, but then you complain that there's no one to trade in, then you've sort of tied your hands behind your back.
If you traded Jason Horne-Francis down to like I can't even, who's on the bubble? Who have we got? Luke Strandicka, however you pronounce his name. If you trade Jason Horne-Francis to him, yeah, it's getting you an upgrade, but now you're going to have a dead rookie on the bench for the next, 20 rounds of the season. How long have we got left? 15 rounds of the season. So there's a balance to both arguments. For me, I prefer having players that are going to play AFL football in my team rather than ones that aren't, which is why I've held on to guys like Rochelle, Horn-Francis, Dacos, etc. But let's push this conversation along. I want to ask you, gentlemen, a question. It might be a controversial question because we've just talked about conserving trades. Are we trading Jack Macrae out of our Supercoach teams? What is happening with the Bevo salad? This man's break even is now 200, and pretty soon he's going to be well sub 600k in price.
You definitely don't trade him. He's one of those ones that you have to persist with. I mean, we held on to Took Miller and persisted with him, and he scored 160 in about 3/4 of football, mind you, as well. Jack Macrae was on 33 at half time, so he actually scored 66 points in a half of football. So the scoring power is still there for him. It's just Luke Beveridge has moved him around to assist with the likes of McComb being in the side, Liberatore not being a forward anymore, Bontempelli needing to be in that centre bounce, Josh Dunkley needing to be in that centre bounce. So Macrae has sort of moved around as a result, and I think Macrae will get back to his scoring because we saw how quickly he can score in that second half. It's just a matter of him getting into the game quicker and finding other ways to score. And I don't think it's going to be long before that happens. Up against Port Adelaide this week, he likes playing against Port Adelaide, so hopefully we see it at the Adelaide Oval where he historically has scored quite well.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just wanted to raise the conversation. I'm not trading Jack Macrae out of my team. It's a really aggressive move. If I was one of the guys at the top of, or one of the people at the top of the rankings that only used 4 trades, I would actually consider it. But yes, I think he's obviously going to come good. It's just very frustrating when you're seeing a guy dipping cash and taking up your M1 spot and delivering 89s and 92s on account of his coach likes to hurt me.
Spin the magnets. Spin the magnets.
Well, gentlemen, let's chat. I just wanted to address Jack Macrae because we had that question quite a lot heading into the podcast. I just want to have a quick look at the rookies who are on the bubble this week. Not a huge amount of Supercoach relevancy. Luke Stranadica,
I think.
Luke Stanatica.
I don't know. What's Stanatica with you?
Luke Stranatica pumped out a 76. He's a 102k rookie in the ruck. Break even is negative 73, projected to jump up 60k. But my concern for him is pretty obvious. It's can he hold a place in the team? Are they going to bring Dixon back in and push him out? Damo, what's the vibe moving forward with Luke Stranatica?
But the issue is he's only a ruckman, and most people would have brought in Braden Pruce and Sam Hayes. So who are you moving out of your ruck line to make room for him? No one.
Yeah, you're not. There's a small subset of people who might still have the other Hayes on their bench who could look at him. I don't think the longevity is there for him, but you guys might know more than me.
No, I think as soon as Bailey Williams is fit, then he comes in.
The next guys on the bubble are Robbie McComb, mid-only 102k midfielder for the Western Bulldogs. Break-even negative 41, had 63 on the weekend. This is not a guy who I'm super confident with his job security, despite the Bulldogs normally backing in their younger players patch.
Yeah, I mean, we just spoken about Jack Macrae being moved around for Robbie McComb. Robbie McComb will be moved around for Jack Macrae, and then we'll have to play in the ruck because it's the Bevo salad, and I just don't see... I'm not confident that he sticks around. He's a decent sub candidate as well, so might have cash generation stunted by that. No, thank you.
There's a couple more guys that are on the bubble this week. Paul Curtis, break even of negative 48. He's a forward, North Melbourne, 117k, scored 58 this week and last week, projected to go up 47k. I'm not super excited by him, just the role he plays. His job security is probably all right, but in terms of his scoring output, I think that in the coming weeks, we've probably got better options, which speaks to the same thing you can say for Toby Bedford, who's also on the bubble, break even -28, plays for Melbourne, 123k forward, scored 52 on the weekend. Patch, I just feel like, and Oliver Dempsey as well, only scored 12. I just feel like there's better rookies next week than there is this week.
Yep. We've spoken about Greg Clark. Do we get to talk about Greg Clark properly now?
Talk about Greg Clark.
Oh my God, Greg Clark's got 104, and I'm really annoyed that I didn't bring him in after goading you last week on the podcast that maybe you could bring him in early. And then I didn't bring him in early, and he scored 104 and was about the only West Coast player that looked half decent outside maybe, I don't know, Liam Duggan. It was bleak for the Weagles, and Greg Clark was the only shining light, and I think as a mature ager who would have been ready to go round one and has done well in the waffle, I'm going to break the rule and go early on him because I like tempting fate and I'm ready to be hurt again.
I hate that I'm advocating for that as well. I think going early on Greg Clark is actually a good idea, because this is a guy that would have played round one if he was fit, but then he suffered that shoulder injury. He's a premiership player for Subiaco, who, by the way, if you guys aren't familiar with the waffle, Subiaco is quite a strong team. If they were to step into the AFL, I reckon they would be better than West Coast and North Melbourne at the moment.
Yeah, wow. Well, okay, Damo, on that thread, Greg Clark comes out, scores 104. Jack Carroll played for Carlton, played as like a kind of on the wing, also played half forward flank, scores 95, break even -46. Aiden Begpatch comes in, plays as number 2, number 1 ruck for Collingwood, scores 81, break even of -32. Cooper Hamilton, 102k forward mid for GWS, comes in, scores 68, break even -28. Morris Rioli scores 92 in a demolition job of the West Coast Eagles mid forward, break even -43, scored 92 points. I think all of these guys are better options than the people on the bubble, and legally I can't say that you should back them in and go early on them. But Damo, I certainly heard you and Patch saying it.
Just on Jack Carroll, obviously he came in at the expense of George Hewitt. Does Jack Carroll stay in once George Hewitt returns? And who is there to potentially remove Jack Carroll from the Carlton side?
The answer is yes. I think he stays in the team. I think I was a little annoyed at actually how they announced it. He should have just been in the team because he's been playing really well. But you know, he'll play on the outside for the Blues. I think he'll push forward and create some shots on goal. I think him and Lockie O'Brien are probably the guys who are locked in for that wing role at the moment. Who comes out for a George Hewitt? Well, Liam Stocker's going to come out. He's injured and has been suspended. Don't know if they can keep him out. There is there's some room in that Carlton side for players to come out. You know, Corey Durden, I know we all love him, Carlton fans, but he hasn't been very effective on games lately. So there are some spots up for grabs. I think Carroll, given what he delivered, and he's been hyped up by the Blues for a long time now, as you know, the steal of the draft. So I think he holds his place as an outside player, but he's not one I'm also going to go early on because I believe the Blues are cursed. And if you select him early, you know, he'll get suspended or get injured or whatever, because that's just what happens to Carlton players. Also,
great story coming in on his first game and being the best young player in the game and being rewarded with getting the Rising Star. Wait, hang on. No, sorry, he didn't get the Rising Star this week. Sorry, my mistake.
Yeah, well, we don't need it. We've actually had this conversation before on the podcast about how they award awards in the AFL, and it's goddamn madness.
It's body of work and reputation.
Yet you can only nominate one per week. Doesn't make any sense.
Makes no goddamn sense. Compels me, though.
Let's talk about some upgrade targets, gentlemen, because there are plenty of players performing really bloody well at the moment. Some of them are now really expensive, like Callum Mills and Tom
Ooh.
Stewart and Max Gawn and Lachie Neale and Clayton Oliver and Jack Steele. But some are slightly more affordable, like a Luke Parker, for instance.
Yes, he scored 150 points on the weekend, and if I can find it, Azza had a very, very tantalising stat, which he flicked through to us on Sunday night just before lockout opened, which made me immediately trade him in when lockout lifted.
Pad, keep padding. You're doing a great job of it.
That at round 4, he was 34% in the midfield. He was being used up forward way, way more, and that is now flipped, that he's up to 75% in the midfield last week. Which, to quote one of my favourite humans in the world, good wanting to play in the midfield means good super coach.
He has gone back to that midfield role. I think Tom Papley come into that side, actually solidifies that a bit, even though Papley did actually start at a few CBAs on the weekend, but it looks like Parker is the beneficiary of some personnel coming back, and like he's not going to pump out 150s every week, but this is probably the last time for quite a while that you're going to be able to get him sub 520k, Damo.
Yeah, I think this week is the week to bring him in if you're going to bring him in. I'm bringing in Clayton Oliver, but I mean, Luke Parker's probably the better value option if you don't have that amount of money in your bank. He did look very good on the weekend, though.
And the thing is, he's actually looked good for 3 weeks, and we just got lucky as super coaches that against North he scored just 39 points, but he's definitely in the last 2 weeks been essentially pure mid, and there is threat for him to go forward and kick goals if required. So I think he's a fantastic value option, Patch.
Yep, I retract any statements that I may or may not have made a few weeks ago about being unsure about if Parker would have that role. Formally retracted. I would like to tell my old self to shut the hell up and ask him what the hell he was thinking. Similarly, I would also like to go back to my former self and ask him what the hell he was doing when he didn't pick Jayden short at the start of the year. Like 65% of other super coaches out there scored 152 on the weekend. Somehow, despite averaging 112, is only 430k as a defender. Lekdog, he's under 550k, which means legally you're allowed to select him, and he's also averaging 112. Maybe an obvious question: should people select Jayden short if they require a defender and don't have him?
Well, I mean, he should be in your team's community if you're listening at home. I, of course, did start him, Patch, because he fit into all of the elaborate rules I've made. I guess the exciting thing for Jayden Short is last week, round 6, he went to like 1 centre bounce. This week, he started at 62% of centre bounces and was essentially doing a Rory Laird, which is, all Australian halfback, premium defender, suddenly turned midfielder. I don't know if that role sticks, but he was their highest CBA attending player outside of Riley Collier-Dawkins on the weekend. That presents tremendous value at $500. What is he? $532,000. Certainly a good option. For me, you got to check your buy rounds. I like my upgrades to be in less teams as well, just to create a point of difference when I'm chasing rank. But certainly a player that you should be looking at in your Supercoach sides.
And virtually at the same price, Patrick Cripps is still at a nice price of $526,000. So if you're one of the 53.8% of teams that don't have Patrick Cripps, then he is also at a very good price if you need a midfielder at a similar price to Jayden Short.
Yeah, guys, a couple of guys that are a little bit more expensive than Patrick Cripps in the midfield that are piquing my interest. Christian Petracca looked really good on the weekend, 131, break even priced $560,400. He's only in 24% of teams. And then this guy had a bounce back game, and maybe this is the game that propels him back to what he has done the last few years. But Josh Kelly from GWS, $543,000, scored 153 points on the weekend, His break-even's still only 69. Nice. Set to increase in value. And he hasn't had an awful season. He's had 2 scores below 93, and then the rest have all essentially been north of 106. He's just chugging along, but he's now at a point where there's, I think, some real value. Of course, Patch, the one thing going against him,
Leon Cameron. That old chestnut getting to real... We need a Bevo salad equivalent for Leon, honestly. And Damo, I think I'd like that to be my official question to the Mailbag podcast later in the week. What do we call the Leon salad?
Okay. You're going to have to give me some time because I'll have to think of it. I might even make a nice graphic like I did for the Bevo salad.
Oh, very excited. Very excited. Almost as excited. Actually, more so. But I'm still very excited about Josh Kelly, considering got you along this week. But then after that, Carlton, who he once scored 205 against and averages 118 from 8 games. And then West Coast. And he loves beating up on weaker sides. So they're 2 games in which I suspect he'll go very big, then Brisbane, then North Melbourne. So 3 of his next 5 games could genuinely be 150 plus scores, which for a bloke at 542k, very good value. Big fan.
I've got one to throw at you. A bit of a pod. He's only in 1.6% of teams. He's only had 2 scores below 80 for the year. The rest have all been 100 plus. $552,000. Hugh McLuggage.
Ooh.
108, 113, 129 in his last 3 games. He's averaging 102 for the year. He's someone who I always look at because there's going to be one year where he is in the top 8 to 10 midfielders. And he just needs to find some consistency. And the way Brisbane are going, wouldn't surprise me if at the end of the year, he's one of those players like a Darcy Parish that people go, I'm starting him next year. I can't miss out on those scores.
I think there's some excitement factor to him. I don't know if for me, he doesn't probably present enough value at this stage. I like seeing that big red number next to my premiums, my midfielders I'm picking up that says they've lost 100 grand since the start of the year. So I must be smart for looking at them now. But Hugh McLuggage, he has all the traits to be a great Supercoach scorer, and he generates shots on goal. He's always tends to have at least one shot on goal in a game. And if he can start converting those, which he's only done once this year, round 2, but if he can start converting those opportunities, that's just that extra, 10 plus points that get tacked onto those games. And suddenly that 108's a 118 or that 113's a 123. It's a small part of his game that if he can clean it up, I'm not saying he can, it's certainly something that entices me. And he's got a really high ceiling.
Yeah, to play devil's avocado, I do like Hugh McLuggage as a player, as a Supercoach prospect. He frustrated me so much that year I had him. I remember him scoring 120 in one game, but he kicked 1 goal 6, 1 goal 7, and not sure I've shouted at a non-Essendon game as much in my entire life. So a good pick, astute pick up from you, Damo, but I can't go back. I can't go back, and it will be a frustrating ride at times because he should score more than he does, but doesn't. The guy I really like, and I've spoken about him before, so I'm not going to go on too much about it, but less than 500k in the forward line, averaging 102, scored 147 on the weekend. Dylan Moore, 0.7% of teams.
The more I look at Dylan Moore, the more I want him in my team.
Oh, he's so good, Damo.
You said more so many times. I want to make a pun, but I think you did it.
Oh,
I couldn't want him any more than I already do. It doesn't quite work, does it?
And he's got around 14 by, which we like. And he still presents value at sub 500k.
And he plays Essendon this week.
I mean, captain him. Don't even loophole it. Straight C. Slap it on him.
So there you go. That is the case for more in your side.
You won't hear a disagreement from me.
Are any of you looking at Ollie Wines, potentially?
I've got him in a couple of draft teams, and I know, he's not had the cleanest season, but he's not someone that is at the top of my list. What are you thinking, Damo?
The Cairns game probably wasn't the best showcase of skills, but he's really only had. I mean, people are going to say we paid 600K for him, so he's had a bad year. But if you're picking him up now, he's only had one game where he scored less than 96 points, and that was the game against Port Adelaide where he only played half a game.
Yeah.
So if he can continue to build, if he could gain 100, 150K from now until the end of the year and be a good pickup.
At 5, by the way, I didn't realize he was only 508K with a break even of 92. That's reasonable. I do have 873 Port Adelaide players in my team, which is a slight issue, but he definitely presents value. I will give you that. I think I worry about the what do they call it? The Brownlow hangover patch.
Yeah, they call it the Brownlow hangover. That is indeed what they call it, Lekdog. Yeah, look, at 40K more, I'd rather the Kelly that we've spoken about. Pendlebury is 40K more as well. Cripps is 25K more. Luke Parker's 20K more. Tim Taranto's about the same price, and I think I'd rather him as a mid-forward, unless you're desperate for a midfielder. But, yeah, I don't dislike the call. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm not jumping on board. I'm not super excited at that price range. I'd rather a Hugh McLuggage based on upside. I also just Port this year kind of give off a bit of a smell.
Before we wrap up, and I do agree with you, Patch. I think I'd like someone with a little more upside because I just worry about, I don't know. I believe in curses, so the fact that there's a curse named after a thing that he did, I'm bound to believe in that.
That's bad. He won a Brownlow. That's good.
That I'm heavily considering this week, and you're welcome to flame me about them because I think they're in 4 teams.
You're an idiot.
First
what
one,
are you doing? Every time. Sorry, you haven't said them yet.
Well, hang on. I had one good round because I bought in 3 players that everyone told me were bad. So let's have a listen.
Yeah, all right.
First one's name is Mark Blicavs.
Oh, God damn it.
Who is $498,000. He's in 947 teams. He scored 135 points on the weekend and has had 4 scores of 104 plus, a 93 and a 49 and a 53.
So you're telling me that Mark Blicavs is more attractive than Hugh McLuggage, even though they've basically scored the exact same way?
No, well, hang on. One is sub 500K and a defender, and I'm looking to upgrade in defence. Hugh McLuggage is exciting. He's a midfielder.
But there's about $7,000 worth, $7,000 in difference in their price.
Yeah, well, Blicavs he appears to be the main ruckman again for Geelong, which is a good place to be. Void of significance.
Main ruckman in Geelong. How many ruckmen maintain that mantle for more than 4 weeks at a time before they get just thrown to full back? Where also, maybe he scores 53 and 49. I don't know. I don't know.
But also, he scored 93 against North Melbourne. If he was really good, he would have scored more than 93.
I mean, I can't defend that. There's nothing. Didn't just make a big cut because I was an idiot. Adam Saad's another name I'm looking at, Damo. 502K, 125 on the weekend. They're finally using his run and dash. 2 scores below 80, but scores of 125, 107, 129, and 139. Damo. And Patch, you used to have this guy on your team. They're using him to the skills that he's good at.
I like Adam Saad more than Mark Blicavs. Mark Blicavs.
You're not going to cut that, are you? Huh?
That's staying in, baby!
I worry about Saad in that if they stop using him or teams try and shut him down, then he goes back to scoring 60s, which he did a bit of last year, and historically hasn't quite pulled that really high average. But maybe this is the year he does. I'm not banking on it. I'm not going near it.
That's fair.
I
There's
hate
no history of scoring here.
I hate both of those selections and want you to
Boo.
stop talking immediately. Love you, XOXO. Damo.
Hasn't he done this before? Had a good start to the year and then fizzled out?
Yeah, probably. It sounds like a thing he would do. Sounds
You're
like a
all
thing.
haters.
Yes. Yes, that is exactly what I am.
You're all bloody haters.
You should pick Nick Hind instead because we got pick 8 for Saad and then paid pick 40 something for Hind, and he's way
Nick Hind's
better.
a really, really good VFL player. He's a really, really good VFL player.
He's a very good sub as well. That 1 week he was the sub and scored a lot of points without doing anything.
Don't you have a new sub now? What's his name? Dylan.
Shiel? Dylan Shiel, I think. Some bloke from, I don't know, with like a mid-season draft, or can't be on a big contract or anything. Moving along,
I think unless you guys have got anyone else to talk about, which by the way, we never talk about who people should trade out, but people know if they're going to trade a player out. I don't think our opinion really helps. It's injury discussion that's interesting. If you're trading out on form, that's on you people listening at home. Is there any other guys you guys are looking at as potential upgrades heading into the round?
Well, we didn't really talk about him. Jordan Ridley, if you don't have him, maybe. No, don't do that. What am I talking about?
Let's see if he can string it. Let's see if he can string it together first.
Well, it was pretty frightening. Like, it wasn't until like the end of the fourth where he actually started, or the end of the first where he actually started scoring. Like, all of a sudden, he was around getting marks, and he just saved it. And there was still like 30 minutes where I was watching, and his points were not moving up. They just weren't. So he still scares the hell out of me. But I think, yeah, one to watch for short patch.
Yeah. Are there any rookies we need to trade out this week? Damo, you've spoken pretty extensively about not needing to move on O'Driscoll and Horne-Francis. But just before we wrap up, I'd like to discuss if there are any that do need to go and are taken out the back.
I think if people haven't moved him, Rochelle, there's now enough evidence to move him. They might even rest him for a game. James Rowe played really well in the reserves. They might look to bring him in and rest Rochelle for a week. He's someone I would, if you haven't already, and I think a lot of coaches have, I'd look at moving. Any Bo Macrae owners out there? Yeah, I'd probably look to move him along at some point. I think if the other two people who've got him in their team are listening, it's time for us to move him. But I don't think there's any must trades, is there?
No,
if you've still got Jack Hayes, then maybe this week is probably the best week to move him on. But as you said, next week there's a lot of rookies that look good to grab on the bubble. So, and that 258k is not going anywhere while he's not playing.
I think Horne-Francis owners and Dacos owners need to hold. That's my personal gut vibe.
I agree.
Yeah, I begrudgingly agree. I think Patrick Naish with a break-even of 70 is one that could go if you've got him. 341k, done a very, very good job. Very admirable work. If you've got him, then I think, even though there's a lower score that's due to roll out of that average, the 56 against Port, that'll roll out shortly. But I think if you're looking to upgrade, he's the one you could move on.
I'm not against moving on Paddy Mccarten, especially considering his good chance to return this week. But given his concussion history, there is every chance they manage his time on ground and cotton wool him for a few rounds. So he may struggle to get the points as easily as he has been. Break even of 44, you could wait and see.
Yep. Agree with both of those. Gentlemen, are we
Lekdog?
calling this one a wrap?
It's a wrap.
All right. Well, thanks again to Manscaped for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. Get 20% off and free shipping with code JOCK. That's code JOCK at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code JOCK. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Patch, it was beautiful to see your gorgeous hairy face and your gorgeous hairless other parts.
yes, they are. The other parts is very fortunate that we're an audio medium and not a visual one. But for all the listeners at home, but it was a pleasure to do likewise with you.
And Damo, you beautiful human, top of the world, top of the ladder. Well, may as well be top of the ladder. Fremantle Football Club are absolutely flying. Thank you for joining me, you beautiful human.
Very good to be here. Just before we go, there is no reason that no one should have this captaincy on Lockie Neal at the Gabba against West Coast this week. He could go 180 plus 2 weeks in a row.
He might score 3,300 points at this rate.
Yeah.
I wonder what would happen if that happened. The world would end. All right, gentlemen. Goodbye. Go Blues.